We tend to notice things that are loud and flashy, going so far as equating extravagance with substance and importance. We cling to the notion that they can do the job better simply by virtue of looking good. In the process, ignoring anything else that seemingly fails our first impressions. But sometimes, it's actually the strong silent types that bear watching, especially when the going gets really tough.
Hi there, welcome to Drive. My name is James Deakin, and on today's episode, we're doing something a little bit different. Now, you can probably gather from the landscape that it's going to be something off-road, and yes, you'd be right. And you'd also be right if you thought, hey, you guys have done that before. We have, but here's the deal. We normally feature very expensive four-wheel drives on this show, and the problem with that is a lot of expensive SUV owners, they don't tend to play with their SUVs off the road. It doesn't face anything more challenging than a multi-level car park. So we decided to look around for the most budget-friendly entry-level 4x4 that can seat at least 5 people. And, well, it didn't take long before this thing over here popped up. It's the Mahindra Enforcer. This thing hit national fame not long ago when it became the official police vehicle. Not without its controversy, because a lot of people were thinking, how good can it be? We'd never really heard of the brand. Neither did I. So what we decided to do was take it here to the jungles of Tanai. This is base camp for 4x4s. This is where it gets really down and dirty. And we're gonna put this thing through the test. Come along and join the drive. Now, the Mahindra Enforcer is definitely the most affordable 4x4 by far. Sorry, Land Rover, kind of stole your line there, because it needed to be. There was no way this could win the PNP contract if it wasn't. But how good is it? Is it really capable? What do you get for your money? Well, inside, not much. It's about as bare as the wardrobe department of an adult movie film set. I'm not even going to bother to bring you in here. Let's talk more about the appearance on the outside. It's got that whole rugged look happening. It's got that slotted grille. Looks a bit like a Willy Jeep, something along those lines. Very, very purposeful. It's got sort of flared fenders. At least it's got the right kind of look. But we're not here to evaluate the looks. We're here to see just how capable this car is. And this is the place to test it. Tanai is full of beautiful rivers, it's full of mountains, it's full of all sorts of terrain. This is where all the 4x4s go when they really want to prove their mettle. So, it's about time we put this one to the test. Now, the mixed blessings here for the Mahindra Enforcer, or Bolero as it's known over in India, so they had to change the name when they brought it over here for, well, obvious reasons, is there's not a lot of expectations because of the price. So inside you're not going to get much, so there's really no point talking about it. But the things that this car needs to do, it needs to do well. You see, as an official PNP vehicle, this will also double up as a rescue vehicle. Not just here, but it is the official vehicle in India as well. So it has to have minimum turning requirements, it has to have minimum torque requirements, and because we live in a flood-prone country separated by a debatable 7,107 islands, it needs to be able to cross a lot of water, just in case there are people who need to be rescued. Speaking of which, odds of that. Let's go. do this. It's a flood buster, so we got more than enough. We got the ground clearance, we got the snorkel. I can't really see where it all is, so I have to be a little bit cautious, but I'm confident that this thing can pretty much get through. Oh dear, yeah, that was a bit of a bump. Let's turn around here and... All right, jump in. Easy. Give me a real challenge. Okay, we got our first damsel in distress. Okay, I'm dreading level 2. Let's see what happens next. If it's any deeper, any more challenging, and most importantly, if the damsel is better looking. All right, we got another one to rescue. Now this doesn't seem as deep as the last one, but the surface, or the bottom, should I say, the riverbed, is a lot trickier. So it's gonna need a little bit more special skill. And also, I don't know if you can see it from here, but the water is also running. There's a bit of a current, and we're going against the current. I would say that this is definitely a little bit trickier and can qualify as level 2. It's handling it pretty well. I can feel the tires sort of sliding around because they're highway tires, so they're not going to really grip at all. Oops, that was a bit deep there. I can feel the water coming in. That means we've gone over the doors. Oh, there he is. Damn. When are we going to get better looking ones? Oh man, originally I thought this thing was going to be just long and not as deep. It got deep, but so far we've only been limited by tires. It seems like the breathing of the car, no problem. The height of the car seems to be okay. We don't seem to have any kind of mechanical issues. It doesn't seem to be sort of sucking in water or anything thanks to the snorkel. The electricals are placed pretty high, so far so good. And the fact that it's all very basic and somewhat primitive there, not a lot can go wrong. Fingers crossed, knock on wood or fake wood or wherever. Anyway, I don't know what the hell they want to call level 3. That was already pretty bad. Just when I thought it was safe to go home, there's one more! Darn it! Okay, there's one more guy. Now go make my way around him without actually sinking. What's that? That's almost waist deep. Oh no! Come on, jump in! So if you didn't think it was too deep, you can see we're having a little party over here. So definitely deep, and definitely the riverbed is very soft. So we're gonna have a bit of a hard time sort of maneuvering out of here. Oh my God, you're squishing around in here. If this thing makes it out, it's freaking heroic. I'm driving in a puddle inside the car. This is just epic. Okay, I think we're in safer territory now. Yes! We're out! I honestly thought it was game over. We weren't just sort of ankle deep in water, we were also sliding around and would sort of hit the river bottom, and it was just, I don't know what to say anymore. I just want to get out of here. Woohoo! Well, we survived the water test, and that's the really important stage. You see, this Mahindra here was designed to be able to cross through some of the rivers, and the most part, despite it being a little bit like this, it made it through, and that's the important part, right? So, the next part of the test is, bye guys, take care.
Thank you so much.
Sunday night, 9 p.m., don't forget to watch. The next part is, of course, the test of torque. You see, the PNP made a special requirement. They needed a minimum amount of torque so that it could get through the mountainous regions of the Philippines. And hey, doesn't get any more mountainous than this. So let's find ourselves a hill and let's conquer it. Now, an important thing for the Mahindra when it was going for the bidding for the PNP contract is what got it was, one of it was the torque. And with 240 Newton meters of torque, it doesn't sound like a lot, but they needed to raise that because they found that after Yolanda, the police vehicles really needed to double up as emergency rescue vehicles in case of disasters like that. I thought this would be a good place to probably try it out. What I'm going to do is, this is a pretty steep hill. I'm going to go up. I'm going to take my foot off the gas and see if it can climb up by itself. Here are my legs. I don't know if you can see it, but they're not on the gas. And we're climbing our way up. This is a basic test that a lot of sort of 4x4s can go through, just to be able to sort of see if it can carry its own weight. Without my foot in the gas first gear, it's doing it all by itself. So probably safe to say it's got enough torque to sort of get it where it needs to go. One of the things about the Mahindra is a turning circle. Now, this actually was a sticking point during the time they were trying to get the contract. They actually had to adjust it because the turning circle was just too wide. Even with the adjustment, I have to admit, it's still wide, but it just scraped through, so it still made the specifications. That's something that you might want to look at. It's easy to live with. I mean, it's not one of those deal breakers, but trying to get around something like that, you might have to do 1 or 2 extra maneuvers than you normally would have to do. What I like about the car is the simplicity. It's super duper simple. They don't pretend to be anything else. But what's important is it gets the job done. And right now, in this landscape, which is a typical rural Philippine landscape, this is the kind of the roads that it was sort of designed to conquer. Suspension is, well, not one of its stronger points in terms of comfort. It is bouncy. You got the leaps in the back there. You do have IFS up the front, the independent front suspension, but it's still very, very basic. And yeah, you're going to get tossed around a little bit, but at least once again, less things can go wrong. And when you're out here, that is a real asset. Doesn't matter how capable your 4x4 is. It could be the best 4x4 by far, but if it's something that you deem too luxurious or too expensive or too nice to take off the road, well, that's going to be your limitation. It's only limited by your fear. And let me tell you, you're not scared of doing anything in this car. Well, so far we've managed to climb some hills, cross some rivers, but at no point have we had to engage 4x4, which leaves us with just one last test for this to prove itself. We call it the 4x4 test or the mud test. Either way, we're going to have to be up against that over there. There's only one way to find out. Let's engage 4x4. Let's have some fun. don't know if the cameras can pick it up, but it's pretty rocky up there. I mean, it's looking pretty tense. We haven't hit it yet. We're about to in a second. I need some momentum. It is pretty hairy up here. Let me just... Ah! No! Oh, this is too much fun. Yeah! Yeah, baby! Yeah! Woohoo! Momentum is your friend! Level 1. Achievement. Unlocked, baby! Well, that was pretty tough. Not as hard as I was expecting. A little bouncy, but you know what? The car was able to do it, no problem at all. But you can't really call it mud until it's wet, right? Well, now it gets a little bit interesting. Nothing like a bit of water to spice things up. No pun intended, of course, being Indian, Mahindra, spice, forget it. All right, first things first, gotta shove it into four-wheel low, and let's do this. Woo! Ah, yes, 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 yes! Oh, feel that, all the torque, the power, oh my goodness! Whoa, that was intense, but whoo, whoo. Am I shaking? Am I shaking? But we made it. Now, the Mahindra Enforcer got a lot of flack when it was first introduced into the Philippines, and not through anything it did or didn't do. It wasn't its fault. Basically, it was subject of controversy solely because it won a government contract to supply the PNP, and people out there were a little concerned because they didn't know the brand, they weren't sure if it was a good vehicle or not, and you can't blame them for that. It's a fair question to ask. Me personally, as immersed as I am in the industry, even I had those questions floating in my head, which is precisely why we wanted to do this particular car in this test. To just see how good it is. Is it really worth the money? At the end of the day, if it's a government vehicle, it's our money they're spending, so it's our right to know. And from a recreational standpoint, we also wanted to know if it was a good enough option to have, because while there are great SUVs out there, they're usually around the 1.5–2 million peso mark, and it's those types of vehicles which are very capable, but nobody really wants to take them off the road. So there's a market there, there's a space for cars like this, and if it's for budget 4x4s and stuff that can really do what it's sort of told to do and what it was designed to do, this thing here is pretty hard to beat. With an entry price of around 800,000 for this particular model, there's a lot of room for you to modify it. You can put your own goodies in there, so you're not wasting money on options that you didn't really pick, and that's what I like. If nothing else, you gotta respect the fact that this thing here has opened up options in the 4x4 scene. That pretty much wraps up this episode of Drive. We hope you enjoyed it. And if there's anything you'd like to see, or maybe you want to just comment on this particular episode, let us know. Drop us a line. Visit my website, jamesdeakin.ph. From there, all the social media channels are there. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you look hard enough, you might even find Friendster. So there are no excuses. So on behalf of the entire Drive team, my name is James Deakin. Drive safely, everyone.